The crippled terror of Gidankwa. In the heart of Gidankwa, a village known for its peace and harmony, there lived a man who cast a long dark shadow over its people. Malambako, a crippled man with a wicked heart, controlled the village with an iron grip. Despite his physical limitation, though his legs were useless, his influence stretched far beyond the village boundaries. Bako was no ordinary man. He was a merchant of destruction. He sold marijuana to the youth, introduced young boys to crime, and stored weapons for the ruthless highway robbers who plagued the region. The village chiefs dare not speak against him, for even the police, meant to uphold law, came to Bako in the dead of the night to buy his illegal wares. But he did not act alone. His wife Aisha was his most loyal supporter. She knew the evil her husband did, yet she never questioned him. In fact, she encouraged it. She saw their wealth growing, their influence spreading, and she relished in it. Their 3 daughters, Lukeya, Safia, and Balkisi, were no better. They walked through the village with arrogancy, attacking anyone who dared to complain about their father's business. No man dared to marry them for fear of being entangled in Bako's web of crime. The cause begins. For years, Bako thrived in his wickedness, but as the elders of Gidankwa often say, no man drinks from the cup of evil without tasting his own poison. It began subtly. First, his skin started to turn dark, and patches of decay appearing on his arms. He dismissed it as an allergic reaction, but then came the stench, an unbelievable pricked smell that followed him wherever he went. The villagers whispered that Bako was rotting alive. Some said it was the spirit of those he had wronged coming back to taunt him. Others believe it was a divine punishment for his wickedness. His wife and daughters, once so proud and defiant, could not ignore it any longer. Even the police, his once loyal customers, stopped coming. No one wanted to be near him. The descent into madness as his flesh decayed, so did his mind. Bako began to hear voices, whispers in the night, calling his name. At first, he thought it was the villagers mocking him, but when he turned to confront them, he found no one. The voice grew louder, cursing him, taunting him, laughing at his suffering. One night, unable to bear the torment, he crawled out of his house, dragging his useless legs behind him. He made his way to the village square, screaming at the top of his lungs, confessing his sins to the empty night. I did it. I sold the drugs. I kept the guns. I sent your sons to their death. I, Bako, did it. His voice was cut short as his body convulsed violently. The villagers, awakened by his screaming, gathered around. They watched in horror as Bako's flesh peeled away, revealing rotten bones beneath. He gasped for air, his eyes wide with terror. Then, with one final agonized shriek, he collapsed and died. The news of Bako's death spread like wildfire. The entire village erupted in celebration. Drums were beaten, songs of freedom were sung, and the people danced in the streets. The young boys he had corrupted wept, realizing how much he had destroyed their lives. His wife and daughters, once feared, now crawled in shame. No one dared to bury him. His body was left in the open, a warning to all who thought they could escape justice. By morning, the vultures had already begun their feast. And so, Gedonkwa was free at last. Evil had fallen, and the peace was restored. But the story of Malam Bako would live on, a dark legend told to every child as a warning that no matter how powerful a man may seem, the weight of his sin will one day crush him.